A shy young woman dropped her wallet on the subway. The man who picked it up was a millionaire trying to walk away from everything he owned. Neither knew the other's name. But from that small wallet, something larger than money, quietly, began to grow between them. Because sometimes the person we need most isn't the one who tries to fix us, but the one who simply chooses to sit beside us in silence. And that journey began with something so small, the kind of thing any one of us could easily forget. The subway was packed in the late afternoon, its yellow lights casting a dull glow over worn plastic seats. The air was close, thick with the screech of steel wheels and the long, mournful wail of the train's horn, like a warning from somewhere far away. Emma sat pressed into the corner by the window, hands tightly clasped, a canvas bag resting on her lap. Her eyes stared forward, unfocused, her mind spiraling through the unpaid bills, the part-time job she was about to quit because of her father's illness, and that stubborn old dream of a sunlit room with a window. She always sat this way in public, still, small, invisible. Her hair pulled back, a dark cardigan, no makeup, as if asking the world to let her pass unnoticed. The train stopped at Midtown. The crowd surged in waves. Emma gripped her bag and stood. Someone bumped into her, jostled her shoulder. She turned instinctively, and when she looked forward again, the doors had closed. It wasn't until she was swallowed by the flow of people outside that she noticed her wallet was gone. Nathan sat in the last car, still on the train. He didn't usually take the subway, but today he wanted to do something out of the ordinary. A man in a grey coat, hands in pockets, headphones around his neck. To anyone else, he looked indifferent, but inside, he was doing everything he could to disappear from the name he carried, a name that whenever it showed up in the news was tethered more to numbers than to people. Something dropped near his feet. He bent down to pick it up, a woman's wallet, beige canvas slightly frayed at the edges, not expensive but clean. Inside were a few crumpled bills, an employee card, Emma L. Davis, Books and Brew Cafe, a Metro Pass, and a small, worn photograph. An older woman holding a curly-haired little girl, both smiling. A kind of smile that didn't smell of money. Nathan turned the wallet over in his hands and he didn't look for more. He had no interest in identity. He'd had too much of that all his life. But something about the photograph held him. Something. Realsis. Outside, Emma stood frozen, as if someone had yanked the floor from beneath her. The wallet didn't hold anything of value to most people, but to her, it was everything. ID, bank cards, transit pass, the photo of her mother. She didn't. Cry. She just stood there. For a long time, people passed and no one noticed. At last, she pulled out her phone. Her hands trembled slightly. She typed a short message into the Lost and Found NYC group. Lost beige wallet on 6 train, possibly between Midtown and 14th Street. Contains ID and personal photo. If found, please reach out. Thank you. She added her email address, then sank onto a bench at the station, heart pounding, not from the loss of money, but from the feeling of losing some small anchor that kept her tethered. That night, Nathan didn't go home right away. He stopped at a small diner. The wallet still sat in his coat pocket. He didn't know why he hadn't handed it over to the train staff. Maybe because he didn't want to. Maybe because for the first time in months, he wanted to look into a life that had nothing to do with his name. He opened his phone, searched for the name on the employee badge. Her social media held few updates, photos of books, a teacup near a window, comments from friends checking in on her father, asking about her shifts. No complaints, no bragging, just presence. Soft as breath, something in it calmed him. He didn't message her, and not yet, just saved her email in his drafts. Before leaving the diner, he looked at the wallet again. That photograph, fading at the edges, but something in the girl's eyes pulled him back, toward a version of himself he had long since forgotten how to find. The next day at Books and Brew Cafe, Emma made tea and checked her phone after every order. Nothing, no reply. At E. Lunch, she stepped behind the counter to call her father, asked about his medication, forced a smile when he asked, "You doing okay?" because to him she was always okay. Later, just as her shift was ending, a message appeared. "I think I found your wallet. It's safe. I haven't opened it beyond ID and photo. Are you okay?" No name, no number, just a few plain words. But her heart stuttered. Someone hadn't just found the wallet. They had wondered if she was okay. She typed back, "Yes, I'm okay. Thank you. Can we meet?" There was a pause. Minutes stretched thin. Then a reply. "Tomorrow. 4 p.m. Café Mimo, East Village. I'll be near the window." Emma stared at the message. The entire day seemed to exhale. She still didn't know who this person was, but someone somewhere had held on to a very small piece of her. She set her phone down. Inside her bag was a hollow space, but somewhere inside her, something had begun to stir, as if maybe things could begin again from a wallet, and a stranger who wasn't in a rush to say his name. He sat in silence in the penthouse apartment, tucked high above Lower Manhattan. The late afternoon light spilled through the tall windows, casting soft gold across the dark wood floor. There was no television, no music, just the quiet he'd come to treat like an old friend after years of retreating from the world outside. Nathan set his cooling coffee on the long oak table. In front of him lay a beige wallet, simple, its fabric edges worn soft. The only thing he had brought, back from yesterday's subway ride. He picked it up again, thumbed gently at the photograph tucked inside. The image had dulled with time, a woman holding a little girl with curly hair in her lap. Both smiling, not posing. No professional lighting. Just a moment caught mid-breath. Nathan exhaled. For the first time in months, he didn't know what to do. He had given away so much before. 7-figure donations, scholarship funds, disaster relief campaigns. In return came headlines, interviews, and the tight-lipped suspicion of those who believed he did it all for show. When he stayed quiet, they called him cold. When he spoke up, they said it was calculated. Eventually, Nathan learned to do nothing at all, to stay outside every game. To live like a ghost, a man in a grey coat riding off our subways, careful not to leave a trace. And yet now, here he was, holding the wallet of a girl named Emma, and inside him, something unfamiliar. He opened the wallet and for the first time noticed a small folded piece of paper tucked beside the receipts. He hesitated, then carefully unfolded it. The handwriting was soft, rounded, slightly slanted, inked in violet. "Dear Emma, when you feel small in a world too wide, remember, I've always believed your heart is strong enough to hold you steady. Don't fear your quietness. Sometimes that's how you'll see the things others miss. If one day you feel lost, make a cup of tea, open a window, and let the wind remind you you are still breathing. And that is enough. Love, Mom." Nathan folded the letter again. His eyes lingered on the last line. "You are still breathing, and that is enough." He leaned back in his chair, not with guilt, but with a strange lightness, as if someone had just whispered those words to him too. The next morning, Nathan left early. Instead of his usual private car or app ride, he walked past the narrow streets of Alphabet City to a nameless cafe with a faded wooden sign hanging crooked above the door. He ordered a black coffee, no sugar, and sat by the window. Emma's wallet sat in front of him like a quiet reminder. He took out his phone, typed her name into the search bar, Emma L. Davis. The results were sparse. A nearly empty social media page, a few posts about books, a snapshot of the cafe where she worked, Books and Brew. In the photo, Emma wore a beanie and a brown apron, a teacup in hand. She wasn't looking at the camera, wasn't smiling, wide, just a soft sidelong gaze, faded like old paper. Nathan murmured, "Who are you, Emma Davis?" His thumb stopped scrolling when he saw the post. "Lost my wallet on the 6 train yesterday. If found, please contact me via this email. There's a photo inside I can't replace." He read it again, and again, no mention of money, no panic, just a quiet kind of loss. He looked down at the wallet, thought about turning it in, mailing it anonymously. Doing what he'd always done, efficient, clean, no contact. But this time, instead of defaulting to protocol, he opened the message app, typed the first line, deleted it, tried again, deleted it again. Finally, he wrote, "I think I found your wallet. It's safe. I haven't opened it beyond ID. And photo, are you okay? No name, no number. Just enough." He hit send. That evening, his phone buzzed. "Yes, I'm okay. Thank you so much. Can we meet?" Nathan stared at the screen. His eyes paused on one word. "We," not "please return." Not "can someone come get it?" A meeting. In person. He didn't know why his heartbeat shifted. Maybe because it had been a long time since he'd met anyone without needing to brace himself first. He typed, "Tomorrow, 4 p.m. Café Mimo, East Village. I'll be near the window." He set the phone down and breathed deep. What filled him wasn't excitement, but something quieter. A peace. As if, for once, he'd done something right and didn't need anyone to know. That night, Nathan sat alone in his reading room. Outside, the wind rustled like someone softly speaking. He pulled Emma's letter out again. Read it from the beginning. The golden lamplight pooled across the desk. Man, a wallet, a handwritten note from a mother long gone, and a meeting with a girl who didn't know his name and didn't know his fortune, didn't want anything but a photo she couldn't replace. And in that moment, Nathan no longer felt afraid. Of tomorrow, it was just a man returning a wallet and a girl reclaiming something she hadn't known she'd lost. Café Mimo nestled into a quiet corner of East Village, like a whisper folded into the city's rhythm. Weathered brick walls, low glass windows, and a soft scent of cinnamon from the back kitchen drifting out onto the sidewalk. It wasn't loud. It wasn't fast. That's why Nathan chose it. He sat near the window just as he'd said, a cup of unsweetened black tea cooling in front of him. His hands were clasped, his gaze flicking to the street now and then, half expecting, half guarded. In his coat pocket was a small beige canvas wallet. His chest felt equal parts anticipation and caution. Emma stood at the far end of the block, looking through the glass as if weighing 1,000 thoughts. A grey scarf hid most of her face. Her hand clenched tightly around the strap of her bag. Each step was an effort at self-persuasion. Meet the stranger. Retrieve the wallet. Say thank you. Leave. Simple. It should be simple. But nothing is simple when your mind is always rehearsing every way things could go wrong. She pushed the door open. The bell above chimed, soft and clear. Nathan looked up. They recognized each other immediately, not from sight, but from something in the eyes, cautious and tentative. Emma stepped slowly toward the table. "You're the one who messaged me, right?" Her voice was light, careful. Nathan nodded. No smile, no handshake. He simply reached into his coat, placed the wallet on the table like something sacred. "I didn't open anything else, just saw the photo. And the name. Gone the ID." Emma stared at it as if seeing part of her own body returned. She picked it up, opened it gently, checked inside. Everything still there. The photo of her mother. The small folded letter. "Thank you," she said, barely audible. "I really thought it was gone." Nathan didn't reply. He lifted his cup and took a quiet sip. "I ordered you a tea," he said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Emma nodded. She sat across from him, still holding the wallet like a life preserver in open sea. Neither spoke at first. Only the soft clink of spoon against porcelain, the hush of the espresso machine at the bar. Everything moved slowly. Not awkward, but not easy either. Then Emma spoke, her voice like steam rising from the cup between them. "Why didn't you leave your name?" Nathan looked up. "I didn't think you needed it. I didn't want you to feel pressured." "Pressured?" She smiled faintly. "Why would I?" He touched the rim of his teacup. "Sometimes names come with too much. I just wanted to be someone who found a wallet. Nothing more." Emma nodded. She didn't press. There was something in his expression she understood. This wasn't a man hiding. This was a man holding something close. I used to think losing a wallet wouldn't be the worst thing, she said, eyes fixed on the amber liquid in her cup. But that photo, I don't think I could have handled losing that. Nathan didn't look at her, but he heard her clearly. There was no drama in her voice, just truth, light as breath. That was your mother? He asked. Emma nodded. She died when I was 19. That picture's from when I was 10. One of the few times I clearly remember her laughing. She paused, debating whether to go on. She used to write me little notes. Every few weeks, she'd tuck one into my books, coat pockets, wallets. No reason, just small words, and I save everyone now, like gold. Nathan gave a quiet nod. His hand rested near his tea. His silence wasn't cold. It made room for her voice. Emma studied him. And you? Why did you bring it? Back? A lot of people wouldn't have bothered. He shrugged slightly, then said slowly, maybe because I still want to believe some things should make it back to where they belong. A way to remind myself, not everything is broken. Emma didn't respond. She just looked at him, not prying, but as if she could hear the part of him that hadn't spoken. The meeting ended simply. No handshake, no promises. Just two people quietly rising, stepping out of the cafe. At the corner, just before they split, Emma turned back, gently. I'm Emma, and if you ever need another cup of tea, I know places quieter than Cafe Mimo. Nathan smiled, just barely. Maybe at her offer. Maybe at something soft-stirring where he hadn't felt anything in a long time. I'm Nate, he said. No surname, no story. Just Nate. They nodded, then walked in opposite directions. Neither looked back, but both walked lighter than when they'd arrived. Emma had her photograph again, but maybe, just maybe, something else had started to return too. And Nathan, for the first time in years, left a nameless meeting with the lingering warmth of a cup of tea that had been just right. It was a crisp, clear morning at the start of the week. Nathan sat in the same cafe near the park where he'd first met Emma, but today the seat across from him was empty. He'd arrived early, as always. The tea was already steeping, his eyes fixed on the window, not watching the street but listening for something he hadn't said last time. Emma's wallet was no longer in his coat pocket. But something heavier remained, the feeling of something unfinished. That afternoon, Nathan sent a message, brief like always. I have an idea. Do you have time to meet again? Emma read the text while dusting the shelves at the shop. She stared at the screen for a few seconds, then typed back, tomorrow at 5. Same place. The next day, right on time, Emma arrived. This time, she wasn't wearing a scarf. Her face was fully visible under the cafe's amber lights. Her eyes still held a trace of hesitation, but no longer the timidity of their first meeting. Nathan was already there. The second cup had been ordered. The chair across from him sat expectantly, as though waiting for one particular person. No. One else? Thank you for coming, he began, his voice low. Last time there was something I didn't say. Emma didn't speak, just nodded gently but said, waiting. I want to help you, Nathan said plainly. Financially. If there's anything, school, your dad's treatment, or just a little security, I can help. Silence settled like a thin layer of dust. Emma set her teacup down without sipping. Why me? She asked, eyes steady on his. Nathan paused, searching for the right words. Because you're the first person who's made me want to do something that isn't about reputation or legacy. Just to help. Without needing a thank. You... Emma pressed her lips together, then shook her head softly. I don't want money. The sentence landed between them like a small stone. Not sharp, not heavy, but enough to ripple the surface of something inside Nathan. I may not have much, she went on, her tone even. But if someone gave me money in exchange for gratitude, I don't think I could bear that. It's not like that, Nathan said quietly. I know, she cut in, not unkindly. You're not like the others, but I'm not like the others you've helped either. Another silence. This one deeper. Neither of them looked away. The seat was filled, but the space between them felt longer than before. "What do you need then?" Nathan asked slowly. Emma lifted her gaze. Her eyes weren't fragile now, they were clear. "I need someone who won't help me." "But who will build something with me? Something meaningful. If you really want to do this, and don't reach for your wallet. Put your hand on the table. Like I am." She placed her hand gently on the wooden surface, palm open, not closed. An invitation, not for pity, but for partnership. Nathan sat still. He looked at her hand, then at the chair across from him, where for years in boardrooms and banquet halls he'd only seen polished masks. But this was real. "Do you have something in mind already?" he asked. Emma nodded. "I used to volunteer at a food pantry in the suburbs. The need keeps growing, but the people helping keep disappearing. With a little funding, not much, we could rebuild something like that, but not as charity, as connection, as community." Nathan nodded slowly. "I know some people in food distribution. I can handle the logistics." Emma smiled. This time, a true smile. "Then let's start at a table like this one," she said, tapping the wood lightly. "Not from spreadsheets or account balances." Nathan exhaled, a long breath, as though shedding an invisible coat he hadn't realized he'd been wearing. "All right," he said. "Let's begin. Together." That night, Nathan stayed at the cafe until only a few patrons remained. Emma had left earlier, after a soft goodbye. No wave, no dramatic gesture, but the chair across from him stayed empty. He didn't rush to leave. Just sat there thinking about what she'd said. "I need someone who won't help me, but who will do this with me." For the first time, the empty chair didn't feel like a lack. It felt like a promise, that someone would return, and this time things would begin the right way. A gift without a price tag, but one that might change everything, not money, but belief. The meeting room sat quietly on the second floor of an old church in suburban Brooklyn. No sign out front, no air conditioning, just a long wooden table, a few plastic chairs, and afternoon light slanting through dusty windows. This was where Emma and Nathan began sketching the first outlines of something they called the Table Project, a space of connection between those who needed help and those who wanted to offer it. No intermediaries, no traditional aid structures, just people meeting people, no grand signage, no polished logo, only an idea built with hands, shaped by real stories. Emma always arrived first. She laid out the supply lists, the calendars, the folders of notes with quiet precision. Nathan came later, balancing 2 coffees and a box of pastries from a favorite corner shop. "I still can't get used to black coffee," he said, placing her cup on the table. Emma smiled faintly without looking up. "You could add honey. Just don't tell the sustainability people." Nathan sat across from her. By now their rhythm was easy. No need to fill the space with talk, no need to explain the past. But something in the air that day made everything feel slightly different. That afternoon they visited the distribution site, an old warehouse repurposed, long tables lined with boxes of milk, bags of rice, vegetables salvaged from big store surplus each weekend. Emma gave instructions to new volunteers, how to offer food without making anyone feel small, how to talk without asking too much. Nathan stayed back, watching. His hand trembled slightly when he offered a carton of milk to an older man in a thin coat. The man looked at him, smiled and said, "Thank you." No one recognized Nathan. No one needed to. At the end of the day, as they cleaned up, a teenage volunteer lifted her phone for a photo. No one posed. They simply stood together, tired but light. Nathan stood slightly off to the side, still holding the milk he hadn't yet set down. Emma was in the middle, her hair tied up, a few streaks of flour on her shirt. She didn't laugh. She tilted her head, just slightly, just as she always did. A single photo, an unarranged moment. But Nathan knew he would keep it. That night, in the car, Nathan was driving Emma home. She looked out the window, wiping a thin smear of dust from the glass. Today was good, she said softly. I didn't think handing out food could feel like this. Nathan nodded, eyes on the road. The kind of silence that held something more. Then, as if something unlatched quietly inside him, he spoke. I used to hate being noticed. Ever since I was a kid. The more money I had, the more people looked at me like I owed them something. Emma didn't answer right away. Not because she was surprised, but because she understood. My mother died when I was 16, Nathan continued. No one told me. I found out from an email, a staff assistant forwarding logistics. She turned to him. You've never said that out loud. He shook his head. No one ever asked. Everyone just assumed I was fine because I had everything. Emma turned back toward the windshield. Outside, early winter wind stirred the trees. Her voice, when it came, was a whisper. I was the same. When my mum died, relatives came over and said I was strong. I smiled, didn't cry, but every night I'd wonder, if I had cried louder, would someone have held me? The car pulled up in front of a weathered apartment building in Queens. Emma unbuckled her seatbelt, reached for the door, then paused. Thank you, she said, eyes fixed forward. Not for the project, not for the funding, just for listening. And Nathan didn't speak, but something inside him went soft. Thank you. For not looking away, he said. Emma stepped out, walked toward her building. She didn't look back. Nathan stayed in the car a few moments longer, phone in hand. He opened the photo from earlier that day. The group blurry in motion, mid-laughter. But Emma stood still, quiet, unobtrusive, and somehow still the center. He took a screenshot, saved it into a folder labeled Untitled. Somewhere in the city, two people moved through the world without needing to say too much, yet understanding one another through every glance, every half-told story, a small project, a group photo, a moment of letting something in. Love didn't arrive like a wave, it gathered like rain, quiet but full. The morning began with the sharp, insistent buzz of Nathan's phone. Not an alarm, not a message from someone he knew, just news alerts, one after another. He blinked awake, the pale grey light slipping through the curtains. Sitting up, he scanned the first headline, Reclusive Millionaire Nathan H. Spotted at local food bank. Who's the woman by his side? He didn't click, just stared as the notifications kept coming. One article after another. Photos taken from a distance, grainy but unmistakable. His face, the old grey. Coat, a teacup in hand, and behind him, Emma. His hand dropped. The phone slid silently into the folds of the blanket. At Books and Brew, Emma was behind the counter pouring coffee when a co-worker burst in through the back door, phone clutched tight. Emma, have you seen this? Emma looked up, and in a single glance, her heart faltered. On the screen, a photo of her and Nathan at the food distribution center. The caption beneath it cut like a clean knife. New flame of the invisible millionaire. Is their grassroots charity the real deal or just another PR stunt? That afternoon, Emma didn't go to the center. No call, no message, no explanation. Nathan waited. He checked his phone, watched the chair where she always sat during meetings, but it stayed empty. No footsteps, no scent of tea. Only the wind slipping through the open window, rustling the calendar pinned to the wall. That night, Nathan climbed to the rooftop of his building, a place he rarely visited. Just a cracked stretch of concrete, rusted railings, the wind sharp against his face. Below him, the city glowed, honked, whispered. So many lives unfolding, none of them knowing or caring who he was. He stood at the edge, hands gripping, cold metal letting the wind strike him clean. No reporters up here, no questions, no screaming headlines, just silence. And a hollow in his chest he thought he'd already filled. He closed his eyes. For the first time in years, Nathan felt the weight of loss. Not fame, not wealth, but trust. From someone he wasn't ready to lose. Someone he hadn't dared to ask to stay. Across the city, Emma lay curled on her side, the soft glow of a lamp washing over a wall speckled with old photos. In her hand was the group picture from the other day, her, the volunteers, Nathan slightly behind. She remembered clearly how he'd asked, "Where should I stand?" and how she'd answered, pointing to the empty spot beside her. "Here. Not because you're funding this, because you're standing with us." And she'd meant it, she'd believed in him. Now, it all felt undone. Emma flipped the photo face down, rose from the bed, began gathering the project materials, folders, maps, notes, stacking them into a cardboard box, slowly. As if each page carried a weight she needed to fold away. She checked her phone, no new messages. She didn't send any either. The next morning, Nathan returned to the center. The work went on. People lined up. Boxes moved. But Emma wasn't there. A young volunteer leaned in, voice low. She asked for a few days off and didn't say why. Nathan only nodded, then stepped back. He didn't ask more. He opened the trunk of his car, pulled out a crate of vegetables, walked it inside, took his place in the line. Same motions, same rhythm, but inside nothing felt the same. That night he returned to the rooftop. This time with a folding chair. He placed it near the edge, facing the city. The wind was stronger now, biting. He sat. In his hand was a small, folded note, the letter he'd once found tucked in Emma's wallet. From her mother. He opened it, read the last line again. "If you feel lost, open a window and let the wind remind you that you are still breathing. And that is enough." Nathan tilted his head back, drew in a breath deep and cold. He was breathing. He was alive, but loss, real loss, was part of that, too. No apology was sent, no message drafted, just wind, and a man sitting alone on a rooftop, facing himself, and for the first time, understanding that his loneliness had never come from wealth, but from losing the one thing that could never be bought. The cold had settled in for good as December arrived, no longer just a whisper in the wind, but something sharper, slicing through sleeves, slipping beneath collars, a quiet reminder that winter had truly come. Emma sat cross-legged on her living room floor, a cardboard box in front of her. Inside were all the documents, folders, and photographs from the table project. On top lay the group photo from that afternoon, the edges slightly curled. She stared at it for a long moment, then gently lifted it to reveal a slim, ash-gray envelope beneath. No sender's name, no postmark, only a single line in black ink. "For you, if you still want to read." She opened it. Her hands didn't shake, but her eyes slowed at every line. "I don't know how to apologize the way you deserve. All I can do is tell the truth. I used to believe keeping my name hidden was the right thing, that it made my actions more honest. But I see now, not everyone needs me to stay invisible. You didn't need a man who hides. You needed someone who shows up. If you don't come back, I'll understand. But if one day you walk into that room and see the table still set, know that I've kept your place. No name, no promises, just truth, finally spoken." Saturday morning. The food center was already buzzing by 7 a.m. The line stretched along the brown brick wall outside, heavy coats and thick scarves wrapped tight, but in every pair of eyes, a flicker of patient hope. Nathan had arrived early. No one fussed around him anymore. He was part of the place now, as familiar as the tables and produce crates. But today, something in him was different, quieter, focused but distant. He was waiting, not for a miracle, just something simple. A return, 9:12 a.m. The main door opened. A figure stepped inside. Emma. No one clapped, no gasps. Just a few surprised glances, a couple of nods, a handful of small smiles. She wore a long coat, a knit hat pulled low, a notebook tucked beneath her arm like she'd never been gone. She didn't look for Nathan, didn't head toward him. She walked to the check-in table, nodded, took a task sheet, and got to work. Still Emma, steady, precise. But her steps held something gentler now, like a knot somewhere deep had quietly unspooled. Nathan stood a few feet away. He didn't move closer, didn't call her name, he just watched. There's something strange about witnessing someone return, not for you, but for something greater than the both of you. He saw her kneel to tie a box closed, help an older man lift a heavy bag of rice, whisper something to a small girl struggling with a carton of milk. No anger, no frost, just presence, exactly what she'd once needed from him. Midway through the shift, someone leaned over and asked her, "Are you coming back to lead the project?" Emma smiled, and soft as wind, "I just want to keep working, let everything else find its place." Not avoidance, not forgiveness, just the next step, taken with understanding. At the end of the day, as cleanup began, Emma sat on a plastic chair and wiped sweat from her brow. A small window in the corner let in the late light. A breeze curled through it. She tilted her head back, closed her eyes for a second. Nathan passed by, kept walking, then stopped. He didn't sit, didn't speak. He just stood there, a distance close enough to hear the breath between them. Emma opened her eyes, met his gaze, no smile, no words, just a small nod, and in that nod 1,000 things were forgiven, without ever being said. Back home, the letter still lay on her desk, its corner lifted slightly whenever the window opened. She hadn't folded it, hadn't put it away. She left it there, a quiet reminder. Some things are best understood in silence. We don't need to name everything, don't need to explain every feeling. Sometimes just being here is enough. Late afternoon. The golden light of sunset spilled sideways through the window of a small fifth-floor apartment, the one Nathan had moved into after selling most of what he used to own. No more soaring glass walls, no housekeeper, no private boardrooms. Just a quiet space, just enough. A bookshelf, a low table, an old sofa, and a potted plant by the window. Nathan sat cross-legged, reading next week's supply list for the center. His eyes paused on the final item. Extra folding chairs for waiting guests. He underlined it, smiled softly. There was something about making space for others that felt more human. A soft knock at the door. He didn't look surprised. It felt like he'd been waiting for this for days. Emma stood in the hallway holding a brown paper bag. No heavy coat, no scarf, just a small smile at the corner of her lips and an unhurried gaze, as if every step that had brought her here had been thought through one by one. Nathan opened the door, leaning slightly aside. "I'm guessing you're not here to check on the supply list," he said, voice low, half teasing. Emma smiled. "No, I brought something else." She stepped inside. The room was quiet, save for the soft ticking of a clock. She set the paper bag on the coffee table, opened it. Inside, her old beige wallet, now cleaned and smooth, the fabric pressed flat. Nathan looked at it, his eyes widening just a little. His hands didn't reach. He waited. Emma lifted the wallet gently and unzipped it. No cash, no cards, just a single new photo printed on soft matte paper, light soaking in from the edges. The photo showed Emma and the volunteers at the most recent food distribution. They were laughing. Someone was mid-wave toward the camera. Emma stood in the center, hair tied up, a bag of vegetables in her hand, sunlight warming her shoulder. She offered the wallet to him. "You returned this to me when I thought I'd lost it for good," she said. "Today I'm returning it, not because I lost it again, but because I've found it. Found me again." Nathan took the wallet carefully, like receiving something sacred. He opened it, looked at the photo. He didn't speak, didn't say thank you, didn't promise anything. Just a slow, quiet smile. Full. Steady. Enough. They sat, side by side, not facing each other, but turned toward the window. Outside, the city pulsed. But in here, the room was still, like it had been carved out from the noise, a hush that held warmth. "They asked me about us," Emma said softly. "If you were my boyfriend, my anonymous donor, the reason I came back." Nathan didn't respond. Emma looked out into the evening. "I just told them, not my boyfriend, not my donor, not the reason, just the one who listened and stayed." He turned toward her, gave a small nod. "So, are you planning to stay?" She didn't answer right away, just lifted the cup of tea in front of her and took a slow sip. Steam rose, softening the edges of her glasses. Then she said, clear and steady. I never left. A breeze slid in through the cracked window. The curtain stirred. The small photo resting on the table tipped gently to one side. Neither of them moved to fix it, because some things are most beautiful when they're not perfectly aligned. The room stayed quiet, but in that silence, two hearts no longer hid. No more bracing, no more armor, just breath, shared in a small apartment beside an old wallet and a new kind of trust. No labels, no grand ending, just the knowing that, after everything, they had found what could never be bought and chosen to keep it. Light as breath, thank you for staying with this story to the end. If an old wallet can open a new heart, maybe we too can begin again, from the smallest things like this story. Click like if you've ever lost and then found a part of yourself, and hit subscribe to walk with me through more quiet, healing journeys like this one.